Joined by Jon Hanna and Jack O'Brien. And guys, thanks for joining me. The men's hockey team has had a pretty successful season. They're headed to their sixth straight playoffs for the conference championship, which is quite the feat in and of itself. So what are your guys' thoughts on the season as it's unfolded?
Well, something to keep in mind with the season is that towards the beginning, you had a lot of expectation for this Colonial squad, being last season that they made it to the conference final, and the year before that. And the year before that, this would be, if they could win in the semifinals, this would be the fourth consecutive time the Colonials made it to the conference championship. So you had a lot of high expectations, and you saw in the close to the middle of the season, right around after the Three Rivers Classic, you saw them kind of falter a little bit, not really win as many games as you thought they would have. But the way they've been playing now is exactly what they would have needed to finish the season strong.
Yeah, and it's almost reminiscent of the 2014 season where they made it to the NCAA and actually won the championship.
No, yeah, and a lot of things that line up here with the 2014 team and this year's team is that you look at the shot percentage. You have a .098 shooting percentage for the 2014 team, a .092 shooting percentage for the 2019 team. The overall records are about the same. 2014, 19, 18, and 5. This year, 16, 21, and 2. One of the things to keep in mind here, though, is they're giving up and they're scoring around the same amount. You have the goals per game in 2014 being about 3.5 goals. This year, about 2.5. They're giving up around 3 goals a game, same as the 2014 squad. You're seeing a lot of comparisons, a lot of connection between the two teams.
And so I hear you on those connections. And then also, so their opponent is going to be American International College, who they played earlier this season. So let's not only compare Robert Morris to themselves, but let's compare them to their previous opponent who they played earlier this year. The first game they lost 3-4, and then they won the second 3-1. So they split the series. What do we expect in that game? What do you expect to happen?
I mean, there are obviously neutral sites up in Buffalo, so you won't have that fan impact, which is big for both teams.
Right.
But I just think it's playoff hockey. Everything's tougher, and Colonials have a great amount of momentum. There's actually a quote here I have from defenseman Aiden Gerdukis. It seems like we finally hit our stride. It's definitely at the right time now in terms of the playoffs, so I think that they can really surprise some people.
No, exactly. And another thing with the way they've been playing now, you had a feeling that if RMU was going to do well in the conference tournament, it was going to have to be some gutsy wins, some gutsy efforts. You're seeing some really nitty-gritty games coming down, some really fighting for every inch you can get. They've been down in games this conference tournament, and yet they've found the drive to push ahead and overcome their earlier mistakes in the game, which is something that you didn't see in the regular season. So they're really pushing that boundary now.
Yeah, and going on that, it's got to be so much of the experience with it being 6 straight trips to the playoffs. There's so many returning players that can preach to the experience that you were talking about, being on a neutral site, maybe not having as many fans as you would expect in the stands. What do you think that experience will translate to on the ice as they go into these playoffs?
Well, I think that the older guys on the team, you're looking at guys like Alex Tonge, Luke Lynch, guys who have been in this position before, and they've won. So you've got great guys in the locker room looking at the young guys. You've got 10 freshman skaters on this RMU roster.
Which is, I mean, Logan showed earlier they can make an impact. Adamo scoring the game and series winner, so.
Exactly, and so I think that those older players are in there, they're saying, hey, don't think this is larger than life. We've been here before. We know what it takes. We can get you guys ready. And especially a big factor in that is head coach Derek Schooley, the experience he's had. And the one thing Schooley likes to talk about a lot is consistency. And what you're seeing a lot of right now with these games is consistency. Hard getting pucks to the net, really getting after their chances and making the most of those chances like you saw in overtime against Bentley.
Yeah, and that was a very great win that they recently had. I think that they're on a 2-game winning streak as they head into the playoffs, so they've got some momentum headed their way. So looking beyond just playing American International College, if they do win that game, who are some of the other people in the conference that you guys would look out for in the playoffs?
Well, the 2 remaining teams that RMU could face would either be Niagara or RIT. 2 teams that RMU played very hard in the regular season, very evenly matched teams. The Atlantic Hockey is a very evenly matched conference. It's a lot of good competitive college hockey, which is great for the conference. But the style of hockey you're seeing in these later rounds of the playoffs is exactly the style of hockey that you saw teams like RIT and Niagara exhibit in the regular season, really just getting in deep, more grinding for your goals rather than basing it off of skill plays. So I think that it's going to come down. A lot of these teams are evenly matched. I'm not seeing a blowout or anything like that. It's going to be close, maybe some overtime games here and there.
So for the fans at home, explaining the format of this, it is a one-game elimination?
Yep,
Yes.
one game.
And so it's everything just on the ice. Winner, take all, loser goes home into the off season. That's got to be a lot of pressure. What players do you expect to step up the most?
I honestly think he mentioned them, but the seniors, older players, Luke Lynch, Alex
Right.
Tonge. Luke Lynch's brother, Zach, was actually on that 2014 team, so I think Zach has given Luke some pointers as to how to really play in these sort of high-energy situations. And then, obviously, in net, Francis Marat, got to rely on him. He's your last line of defense.
Yeah, and another one as far as defense goes, Eric Israel is going to be huge for the Colonials, a facilitator on the blue line, a steady defenseman, a guy who has just as much offensive skill as defensive skill, great two-way player. He's been huge for the Colonial success. You saw that he was injured early in the season, and you saw an immediate change when he got back into the lineup. So Eric Israel, a big player for the Colonials in the playoffs.
Absolutely. And so as we go forward, can I get a prediction from you guys on the score of this game and then whether or not they'll advance beyond and ultimately win the AHA championship?
I will say, like I said earlier, they're going to be close games. I'm thinking a 1 or 2 goal game. If it is a 2-goal game, it's going to be an empty net. It's going to come down to the line. I'm thinking 3-2 or 4-3. But RMU's got a little bit of history on their side, being the only 8 seed to go past the quarterfinals in Atlantic Hockey Tournament history since they started the Atlantic Hockey Tournament in 2004. So you've got history on your side. You've got momentum. I think RMU's going to come out, win by 2, flat out. I'm going to say 4-2 RMU beats, excuse me, AIC. My apologies.
What would your prediction be?
I'm with Jack. It's going to be a close game, close checking, close everything. But I'm going to say RMU edges out a 3-2 win. They don't get that empty netter like you alluded to.
Yeah, and if I had to give out my prediction, I think that RMU will win. I think that they're going to win in a high-scoring game. I think the guys are going to come out, lots of shots on net. 5-1. I might not know hockey as well as you guys do, so I could be way off base on that. And then I do think that they're going to end up winning the AHA, despite not being the highest seed in the conference. It would be history. No,
exactly. And again, RMU, when you look at them, how they line up against teams like Niagara and RIT, it's definitely an even keel matchup. You definitely see some comparisons between the two in styles of play, how they score. It's going to come down to head coach Derek Schooley's favorite word, in my opinion, consistency.
Yeah,
it's going to be. They're going to have to stay. They're going to have to keep playing the way they are, keep playing hard, keep playing fast, and making the most out of your opportunities.
Well, guys, thanks for joining me. I am going to be joined by 2 women's lacrosse players when we get back after this break.